Hi, I'm Gary Kell, the fly fishing coach. Welcome to episode 3 of the Secrets of Fly Fishing Success. Today we're going to learn about fly lines. So sit back, refill that coffee cup, and let it all sink in. The very heart of your equipment is your fly line. It's the weight of that line that you cast to deliver the nearly weightless fly to the fish. Now let's look at the 5 parts of a fly line: the level tip, the front taper, the belly, the rear taper, and the running line. Starting at the end where the leader attaches is a 6 to 12 inch piece of fly line that is level in diameter and thin. The front taper increases in diameter up to the belly of the fly line. The belly of the fly line is where most of the mass is in a fly line and the largest diameter. It will run back to what we call the rear taper, which then reduces that diameter down to the running line. The running line is thin and light and runs to the other end of the line. The fly lines are normally 90 to 120 feet long. Another term that you might hear is the head of a fly line, which includes the level tip, the front taper, the belly, and the rear taper all together, generally between 30 and 50 feet long. The modern fly line is constructed of a plastic coating over a kite string-like multi-filament nylon core. The variations in the plastic coating is what gives the fly line its differing characteristics of weight, taper, and density. The weight of the first 30 feet of fly line determines its size. The size varies from a 1-weight line to a 15-weight line. A 1-weight line is the thinnest and lightest line. A 15-weight is the largest and the heaviest line. To help you purchase the balanced kit, the rod and reels are labeled with a line weight that they are designed to handle. So how do we choose what fly line weight to use? Primarily that is based on the average size fly that we plan to cast. Heavy lines cast bigger and heavier flies further. Light lines cast smaller flies more delicately and close in. For trout, we cast sizes 8 to size 20. In that case, the best choice may be a 4 or 5-weight fly line. However, sometimes when seeking larger fish, like steelhead with smaller flies, you may need a larger, stronger rod to subdue and fight them successfully. In that case, you would want to match the fly line to the rod you selected. Once you've selected the fly line weight, you must consider the taper. The taper is designed to dissipate the energy of a cast in such a way that the line straightens completely and the fly lands gently on the water. There are 2 commonly found taper designs: weight forward and double taper. Weight forward is similar to the previous line that we described. It'll have a tip, a front taper, a belly, and a rear taper all on the front end of the fly line, and the remaining part of the line is the running line all the way to the other end. A double taper, however, is comprised of the level tip, the front taper, and the belly, which continues all the way to the other end of the fly line, where the front taper and level tip is repeated. One of the positive aspects of the double taper line is that it can be turned end for end when one end of the line is worn out, and it's like using a new line. The double taper is also better for long-distance roll casting, at least at roll casts of greater than 50 feet. The weight forward line is preferred by long-distance casters, at least at distances 50 feet or better. The heavy head is able to pull the lighter running line up through the guides much more efficiently, and you can achieve greater distances. However, in trout fishing, most of the distances we fish at are less than 50 feet. So either taper will work well for the average caster. There are two categories of fly line density: floating and sinking. Floating is the most common, as you can fish both the surface and you can fish to depths of 6 or 8 feet by adding weighted flies or adding weight to the leader. Sinking lines are used to get very deep in lake situations and or in very swift waters to get that fly down to where the fish are. Floating lines are less dense in water and therefore they float. They're made up much like a Rice Krispie with air cells that make them buoyant. Sinking line, on the other hand, is denser than water and therefore it sinks. Sinking lines vary by their sink rate, often shown as inches per second. And they vary by the length of line that sinks, from 10 feet to the entire fly line. Now that we've learned all about fly lines, let's head to the local fly shop. There you will find fly lines in a box, and on that box is a label, a 3-part code. The first part of the code is 2 letters designated in the taper design. That is WF for weight forward and DT for double taper. The second part of the code will be a number, and that's the weight of the fly line, from 1 weight to 15 weight. The third part of the code is the density of the fly line, commonly labeled with an F for floating or an S for sinking. There may be other distinguishing characteristics on the remaining part of the box. For beginners, I will narrow your choices and recommend that for your first fly line you choose a general purpose weight forward line that floats. For trout, a 4 or 5 weight line; for bass, a 7 or 8 weight; and for salt or large freshwater fish, a 9 or 10 weight. Fly lines cost between $40 and $125, so you may want to take care of them. Fly lines do get dirty, and when they do get dirty, they don't cast well and they don't float well. So every couple outings, you may want to clean your fly line. Use a mild soapy water and rinse them thoroughly. Or you can also use a commercial line cleaner. One of the things you don't want to do is step on your fly line, as it ruins their integrity and they no longer float well then either. When a fly line is stored on your reel for any length of time, it will develop coils, so you may want to stretch your line between your hands before starting to fish, and then the fly line will lay straight on the water. You will find a link to the handouts for this episode in the description below. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our great videos. Join me in the next episode where we will discuss rods and reels. Until then, go fish.